Continuing with the theme of the evening, we have a small fireside chat on digitization through IT in the pharma sector. And for this discussion, I'd like to call on stage Mr. Sanchit Nanda. He's a Senior Director of Global Patient Solutions at Gilead Sciences. Welcome, Sanchit. And I'd like to call on stage Mr. Pranav Gadre. He's a Vice President and Head IT of Reliance Life Sciences. Can we have Pranav? So, gentlemen, both of you heard the discussion. So, I would like to, and I'm sure some of the points would be similar lines, but I would like to approach it in a slightly different format. Let's talk more on the bottlenecks and the challenges, because ultimately enumerating the challenges will lead us to find solutions towards that. So when pharma companies are undertaking this digital transformation journey, and we are hearing about hybrid cloud, multiple clouds, the regulatory challenges, the cybersecurity challenges, all these things we have heard. But in this, your digital transformation journey, what are the three main challenges that you have faced till now? If I can start with you. Yes, sir.
I hope I'm audible. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. So let me take it at an industry level, from challenges. And first, I'll talk about, two of the biggest costs for the industry. One is obviously in terms of research, and which actually represents both the spectrums, the biggest cost. Second is kind of, delivering the products, communication to the customers. So let me focus on the second part. First part, kind of, a lot of technology is working, and for the audience, it will be more relevant. If you look at with respect to changing norms, the way technology has been adopted and have been implemented, it's not really fully in sync. So let me give a very specific example. Pharma company communicates with healthcare practitioners, and this particular communication is largely on medical information. Now there was a time it was entirely rep driven. Then there was a time that kind of, information was available on the internet and everywhere. And doctors were kind of, wondering what new I'm getting from the reps. Then came a stage, and mind you, this happened during COVID, that it was required that when it comes to digital connect, let's kind of, supplement the information. And it was kind of, done in a very quick, probably, haphazard. Now we are still in a stage where it is supplementing and not really complementing. In the sense the journey is there, the focus is more on information, whereas think of it as a large country like ours, where we have almost 650 million smartphone users. And think how we can kind of, leverage from improving the medical information to kind of, focusing better on patient care, specifically for products in chronic therapy or specialty products, where it would kind of even make a good case for ROI in the long term. And how that can be, delivered successfully, that's definitely a challenge. We've kind of, started the journey, but probably we are kind of, seeing it in piecemeal. Because obviously, the system, segment, and overall approach is pretty kind of, fragmented. So one needs to have a bigger picture. That's one part.
So even that, if I may say, even that data is coming from so many sources. And how would you ensure the authenticity of that data and maybe perhaps even the security of that data?
So, I'll kind of, focus because I started talking about, the physician and the patient, because at the end of the day, what, I personally strongly believe that, one of the most important purpose for us is to support patients, is to kind of, improve health outcomes. Now think of it, when we talk about data, when we talk about kind of, integrating, if in case we have a very clear setup wherein a physician, a caregiver, and the patient is kind of, engaged, and I'm talking about the patient level data, and there are instances In some of the Western world countries where kind of, it is well integrated, it kind of, works very well, authenticated. And today, think of it, even kind of, reports, pathological report, it's kind of, generated from the lab. And there are, setups which kind of, picks it up at source. Imagine if in case we are able to complete the loop and put in, different links that right from the source itself, the data can be picked up. It will create an authenticated data. And not only that, from a doctor's point of view and from a patient's point of view, it will be extremely helpful and meaningful to understand that what action I'm taking, how it is helping. And from a pharma company point of view, we really know that the medicines that we are making is helping patients to the maximum possible. And if I may add, something which is interesting, which has started in developed world, and probably would catch up, for different reimbursement segments, including, some of the authorities, they even say that for pharma, the future is pay for performance. Your product has to deliver value. And for that, integrating the system, picking up data from different sources and linking that up right from the basic source is the key.
Okay, thank you. I'll come to you again. The first question that I put, challenges in the digital transformation journey. What according to you are the maybe one or two primary challenges?
Is this? Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah.
So thanks, APAC and Schneider first for this opportunity to meet with wonderful people. And in fact, I would request you to sit. I think you have been standing for almost 45 minutes now.
No, that's okay.
So to answer your question about the challenges, right? I think the biggest challenge which I feel in pharma is on the adoption side. Okay, so I think all are gung-ho about this industry 4.0, pharma 4.0. The management is saying that, okay, go ahead, implement. The IT is keen to go ahead and implement. But I think from the business side also, we need to make sure, okay, that there is sufficient adoption of this new initiatives that we are driving. And this is not what I've seen in our company or somewhere else. I think across many places it has happened that in the zeal to implement automation and digitization, IT goes ahead and implement solutions. But the adoption from the business side is not that great. Okay, many a times they are happy with what they are doing, or maybe they were not part of the journey, and then they feel that, okay, this is not what I wanted. So I think the important part is to ensure the adoption of the solutions what you are implementing. The business teams have to be involved right from the word go. Right from start, they need to involve. You need to really understand what they require, whether what you are giving them is what they want, or they are looking for some different solutions or different problem statements what they have, and accordingly you derive and define the solutions from them. So I think that is the biggest challenge where I think IT has to be mindful, or digital team has to be mindful, that what exactly business wants and what are the real problem statements. You are going and implementing and solving those problems, and not what you feel is the current trend in the market which you need to implement.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. So, again, harping back to the last discussion, the regulatory challenges, again, for pharma, that is one of the main, if I may say, one of the main dynamics itself of the industry. It's so regulated. So, how do you look at when you are undertaking this digital journey? How do you look? How are you managing the compliances and basically conformance with those compliances?
Okay, so let me continue on the same, thought for better continuity, and I'm talking about, keeping patients in mind. Now, from the point of view of, regulatory compliances related to, patients with respect to, patient data, privacy, security. Now, what is interesting is what we have seen overall through spread of, technology or awareness in this particular aspect. There's been a good improvement, at least for the organizations which have picked up, delivering on the digital pathway. And with respect to, some of the products which are kind of, or the programs which have been kind of, picked up, the endeavor of some of the cases has been what we are doing for India should be conforming to, international standards. To the extent that I can talk about, some of the HIPAA compliant, pathways kept, or even kind of, talking about a very specific, data privacy guidelines. In fact, I was amazed, I must say that, without naming any particular organization, uh, within first 3 months of, COVID-related lockdown, companies which were kind of, creating touch points with the patients, they had updated their data privacy policy on the website, and some of the companies which had that particular app, their app got changed and creating, the necessary sign-offs. To me, which was something, very, very interesting.
Okay. I'll come to you more specifically after this COVID pandemic. And we heard that how much of this digitization process got accelerated because of the COVID thing. And two is obviously pharma companies have been under pressure to reduce the product life cycles also. So, how much has that led to the increased digitization?
O- Okay, so, interestingly, I heard a term, so not my, creation, but I heard it sometime last year. And this is pretty interesting term, which said that COVID dividend. Okay. So I liked it, because when we talk about, the dark side of it, there's also a positive side. And one of the COVID dividend was kind of, acceleration in adoption and the change. And what is important uh, is kind of, not really trying to do everything by themselves. So a lot of ready-made off-the-shelf solutions were kind of, picked up by pharma company, and they were kind of, implemented to different levels. And what was also interesting was, at least I can talk about half a dozen, programs which talk about, patient connect, and they also had very interesting information of looping in, drug delivery, and also looping in, adverse drug reactions. In fact, in the last panel or earlier during the day, there was a very interesting, discussion about, product recalls, etc. Now think of it. I don't know whether it's happening or not. Now those kind of, products, or those kind of, product, God forbid, if in case there's a recall, there are today systems which actually capture delivery and the batch number.
Okay.
So that's also a very nice way of communicating and reaching out to the patient, that if in case there's a recall related to this particular batch, there are systems which allow for two-way communication, and a patient can be alerted. Think of
Okay.
it. It was kind of, I may be wrong to say, but probably 3 years back, nobody would have thought of it.
Exactly. So that's an innovation. Sir, your point of view, did the COVID thing accelerate this digitization process?
Yes, definitely yes. I think because right from the and when I say digitization, it's not only about the automation, but even the way of thinking has changed after COVID, right? Because I think this work from home concept and the trust which you put on your employees and all those things, that has changed. And the pace definitely yes, because I think the management also realized that I think there is. No escape from this now, like from digitization or automation. And I think the more and more you invest onto this, I think the more benefits you will derive. So that is the definitely a learning what I think everyone has learned from the COVID pandemic situation, because what happened, like most of the workforce was kept away, and then I think you had a lot of manual activities which used to go on in the shop floor or in the QC and Q areas. So I think that time it was realized that if there is more digitization or if there is more automation, then definitely that is something which would have helped at that point of time also. So definitely that was a learning where I think everyone felt that okay, digitization definitely is something to go ahead with.
Okay. So we'll conclude this, and again, like the last discussion, 30 seconds to each of you. And over the next 18 to 24 months, two main key action plans that you have. Maybe I'll start with you.
Okay, so I would say, overall at an industry level, what I definitely see is integration of, and I'll continue on the same thought on, patient support program. What I see is with lot of development happening by independent players and even kind of non-pharma players, I see integration of those in patient support program and improving the visibility. That's one. Second part is very interesting thing that I'm seeing, and probably that will be kind of be very meaningful a country like India. I'm also seeing some of the programs, patient programs as an industry observer, also talking about healthcare financing or even kind of educating patients, those who have health insurance, etc., that how they can get benefit out of it. That is really the patient service.
Okay.
And it's interestingly that kind of I see these changes happening.
That's an area, yes.
Yeah, so for me, I think next 18 to 24 months, I think the primary objective is so we are getting into a greenfield implementation to set up a smart factory. So, which is like through the connected systems for Industry 4.0, and obviously to ensure that the adoption is there, as I mentioned earlier. And the second thing is also, as he is saying, like patient centricity is something which we need to focus. So, from quality and compliance, I think you had one question on compliance. So, in pharma, compliance is the license to operate, so we cannot escape that. So irrespective of the speed and kind of innovations which you want to bring, you cannot leave compliance aside. So that is has to be at the center, which means that your patient has to be at the center, like in GMP, as we say, like patient safety, product quality. That has to be the focus area irrespective of what you are doing. So that would be the two focus areas to basically implement a smart factory at our greenfield site and make patient as a center and ensure quality and compliance of what we do.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks to both the panelists here. Appreciate you taking your time out here. And thank you.